Welcome to the Gaudium et Spes podcast, where every other week we bring you Catholic teachings and stories of faith from people throughout the Diocese of Pensacola-Tallahassee. Now, here are your hosts, Suzanne McNinch and Ches Filippini.
Hello, in this episode we're talking about the 50th anniversary of the Diocese of Pensacola-Tallahassee. Now, the church existed here before that, but that was the official date of the founding of our diocese. And we can talk about a little bit about the history of that and how we became the Diocese of Pensacola-Tallahassee. But mostly we just want to talk, especially with someone who has been here not since 75. Yes, since 75. Not working here since 75. We'll get into this, but who's been here and was working here in the pastoral center and in the diocese for many of those 50 years. Teena Easter. So it's good to have you, Teena. Welcome.
Thank you, Bishop.
Okay, and just before we do that, I'll say yes. So this is the year 2025 that we celebrate our 50th anniversary. We were founded in 1975. Really, the decree by Pope St. Paul VI was made in October, but the Mass was celebrated. The Mass of Dedication was celebrated on November 6th. So that's when we celebrate actually our founding day. And a lot has happened since 1975. And so, as I said, we have Teena Easter here to just help us with some of that and tell us some fun stories, hopefully. But tell us about yourself, if you would, please, first.
Wow. Right now.
Yeah,
Start.
sure. Let's just jump into it.
Well, Catholic since birth.
Me too.
Went to Catholic grade school, OLPH, high school, Notre Dame, college, University of Chattanooga.
Okay.
Involved in the Newman Center. So I've kind of been, the CYO, and I've been churched. Mm-hmm. And there in high school, I met my husband, and we married in 1968. And we moved to Tallahassee because Hal was in graduate school. Okay. So we were very, very active at St. Thomas More. And in the choir, sang. And that was the Kumbaya days when you could have guitars and tambourines.
Banners and everything in the church. Right. Yep.
So we left Tallahassee because Hal was transferred here to Pensacola. And we joined St. Paul's School. And we put our children in St. Paul's. And that's kind of, I had a year of trying to get the house settled and what have you. And then I knew that I needed to go to work. And I had met Father Mike Tugwell, who was the pastor. No, he wasn't the pastor. He was the associate, but he was director of youth ministry.
Okay.
And he needed a part-time secretary. And I went down to the pastoral center and talked to him. I had my coat on, and I thought, well, he never said anything about money or hiring me or anything. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Oh, okay, we're done. I'll see you tomorrow." I went, "Okay." So that's when I started. Wow. And that was in January of 1979. So I was there for 16 years. I was in the youth office.
Wow.
Father Mike Tugwell moved on. He was in Tallahassee, and we had Father Dennis O'Brien and Father Mike Cherub, and they shared the youth office. However, neither one of them was there every day. So I pretty much took care of that, and we just did everything by phone, or they would come in and say what they wanted to do or what we needed to do. And so I was there for that amount of time, and then Bishop Smith's secretary was going to retire. So she came down to my office. She said, "Bishop Smith wants to talk to you." And I thought, what did I do? So I went down, and he was very gregarious. He, laugh, and he would come to the lunches, make fun of people, and it made his voice different. And he was just really outgoing. And I said, now, Bishop, you're not going anywhere, are you? "Oh, no, Teena, I'm going to be here be buried at Holy Cross Cemetery." That was in July.
Oh, boy.
He got papers to go to Trenton in the following January or February. So we were almost a whole year without a bishop.
Wow. Okay.
So.
Wow. And then you were also you continued in the bishop's office.
Stayed in the bishop's office, and Monsignor Amos and I just and I hadn't been there long enough to even have a whole year to know what I was doing, but we muddled through somehow, and then we managed to hold it together until Bishop Ricard came.
Okay.
And so now when I worked in the office, in the youth office, we had Bishop Gracita.
Ah, okay.
And he invited some of the office staff, well, all of us, to come to his ranch in Tallahassee. So several of us went, brought my children.
Wow.
He had a big meal. It was just a real comforting thing that he'd like to do that for the staff. So we spent the whole day, had dinner, drove back to Pensacola.
Wow. So you actually have had a connection with all 6 of us bishops.
I have.
You've, You got to know him then, and then you worked with the others. And with me, you serve as you're volunteering. I see you all the time at church and here. And so it's so good. It's neat. I wish I would have been here earlier. Then you could have been in that office as well. But I'm so happy with Nick is now the administrative assistant. And so the administrative assistant, everyone always says she or he is the one who knows all the secrets and controls the bishop's calendar and everything and runs the office and runs the diocese. But I'm sure you have a lot of stories, and maybe we don't want to hear all of them. But,
no, you don't want to hear all of them.
But are there any, any thoughts about, so you have worked with a lot of the bishops, and you were in the diocese so you've seen a lot of the diocese. Right. I guess I would guess, what are the biggest changes you've seen over the years?
Well, I think
obviously a building.
The building was the biggest change, and that was under Bishop Ricard.
Okay. Talk about that if you would. Where was the first building? The
first building was on what was St. Anthony's.
Davis.
They had some offices in what was the school, and then they moved down to it was St. Stephen's School, and that was we took that. Bishop took that office. That's whole front school. Right. It was one level, and when Bishop Ricard came, he said, "How do you communicate with everybody?" I said, "Well, you just get up and go talk to them." Mm-hmm. He just looked at me. Well, he had come from the north, and he was polished
and everything, and all of
and
that.
We had this one school that he was now the first office from the door.
Okay,
that was not good either, but that's the way it was. And he told me not too long ago. He said, I really didn't understand a word you said when I first got here."
Is that right?
My Southern. It's Southern.
Right. Right, I guess so.
Couldn't help it. So.
And that was here, right? That first building then, the
was right where the parking lot is.
Okay. And then this pastoral center was built. So you watched it being built and everything.
We all
Did you have a
watched
say in it at all? Did you have a say in
Well, he said, "Where do you want to be?" Okay. And I said, "Near you."
Yes, right.
And I was in that office that faces the street.
Okay.
And I think that's where David is now.
Right. Deacon David is there. Yeah.
And
it's interesting because in this building, you said the former building, the bishop's office was right near the door.
Oh, right near the door.
And so now it is as far away from the door as possible. It's on the third floor and all the way down the hall.
Right.
So.
Well, that gives you time to know whether you want to answer the door or not, instead of people just barging in.
That's right.
And they did do that a lot. So.
Yeah, and so they moved to here, and that's where we've been ever since. And was that the only office you had in this building? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Wow,
the only office. At that time, Bishop was insistent that I had an office with a door because he thought that people did come in and we discussed it and what have you. So,
Well, again, we didn't work together, but I'm so appreciative of Nick, who is the executive assistant secretary right now. He's attentive. He's always there to answer, like you, I'm sure. He's the first. He's the first one people talk to when they call the bishop's office. They get him, and they got you, and so you have to listen. You listen to all kinds of things. I'm sure.
Oh yes.
And I almost want to say, what's the craziest thing? If you can do one that's safe, that's fine. But not craziest. But there are some
scary. I had a couple of scary ones when they wanted people would call and they were possessed and they needed the priest that is the exorcist. And then I was told to ask questions, and one of them was, "Are you taking your meds?"
Right. Yes.
And then you would kind of talk them out of it, and then say, I would forward that call to the one that would call and see if it really was true. But kind of most of the time, they just weren't on their meds. That was the main thing.
Yep.
But that's when we had
Did you ever imagine
Chattahoochee.
you would be doing that?
No.
Yes.
Never. I would go home sometime and think, I can't even tell anybody about this because we were under the seal as bishop's secretary that we really weren't supposed to say anything about any of the phone calls we made.
Absolutely.
And I just told you everything I should said.
Excuse me, you weren't specific, and that's fine. You can do that.
Right.
Good. All right. And so a lot of your, all of your ministry was here in Pensacola.
Yes.
Did you, so we have a very long diocese, it's extensive. It covers 18 counties. Did you travel around? Did you do that?
I did. In the youth office a lot, mainly.
Sure.
When I went into that office, it was Bishop Simon's, and he had a big van, and he and Father Calipari was his priest secretary. And they drove everywhere, back and forth, and he would when it was paycheck time, Bishop Simons would have all of us in the kitchen, workroom at the old building, and he would hand us each our paycheck. And it was made you feel comfortable that he would do that. Right. And then he would tell us stories of where he'd been and how many miles were now on the van. And so he was just very likable.
Good. Yes.
And when I can't remember exactly. The two priests that were in the youth office, they were back and forth and doing stuff. And Father Mike Cherub had started a diocesan youth conference. And it was a 3-day event, Friday night, all day Saturday, and it closed on Sunday. And Bishop Simons was one of the first bishops, to start that. And several years after that, I guess I'd been in the office probably, I don't know, maybe 10 years. He said, I think you need to be the associate director, not the secretary. And I said, whatever.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever used that title ever. I was still Ms. Easter in the youth office. So, anyway.
Well, it's so good. I mean, when I got here, I'd heard about you, that how much you had done, and you were around. I think
we went to lunch your first day here.
Yep. You were there at the. That was at the Basilica, correct? Was that?
Mm-hmm. Well, it was here in the office.
Okay, and I did so much. That was a blur.
You were upstairs.
That day was a blur.
And you hadn't been. You were just coming in. And
my plane was canceled the night before, so I slept on the floor of the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. Oh my God. And then I arrived here probably 8:30 a.m., and we had the press conference at 9, and so I didn't sleep all night.
And you were hungry. You came upstairs, and Jan and I were there.
That's
and
right.
You said, can we go get something to eat?
Yep,
Sure,
that's
Bishop.
Right, that's right.
And the three of us, and Father Mike Monsignor, read We all took you to lunch.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. That's great. And then Jan followed you.
Yes,
and
she
Vicki
did.
after that, and now Nick. And
Yeah.
so it's just it's something that I, as bishop, of course, rely on. Someone I rely on heavily, as you know, and I just really appreciate all that you've done. So thinking again about the diocese, you were here for other celebrations,
Yes,
5
yes.
and 10 year.
Yes.
Any thoughts on that? So we'll celebrate the 50th this year, with, of course, Mass, at the Co-Cathedral, kicking it off. And then, sorry, I'm stealing your thunder,
No,
but
go ahead.
we'll have 3 others throughout the course of next year, I believe.
Panama City,
Yep.
St. Dominic's.
Right, nice. And then St. Mary in Fort Walton Beach, and then at the cathedral here in Pensacola.
Yes. Yeah.
So we'll celebrate it for a year. But do you remember any of the others?
Well, that basically is all we had. Now, the first one, that was Bishop Simon's, and it was just a dinner,
Okay.
a mass at the cathedral and a dinner at New World Landing.
Okay.
Um,
And that was in 1985, right?
Yes,
The 10-year anniversary.
yes.
Okay.
He, at that time, I think he asked Bishop Gracita to come, and he was going to come.
Okay.
And then he didn't. He got tied up and he couldn't come. So
Bishop Gracita was the first bishop of our
First
diocese,
bishop.
and then was moved from here to Corpus Christi.
Yes,
And
yes.
he retired there and is still there. I believe he is certainly the oldest bishop in the United States. I think the second oldest in the world at 102. And the oldest is right across the border in Monterey. No, I'm not sure where in Mexico, but he's 104, I think, or something like that. But anyway, something in the water there, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, probably. So,
And so that was the 10-year anniversary.
it was the 10th, and then Bishop Smith had the 20th, and I think he knew he was leaving, but he didn't tell us that. But he wanted to have this. I think that's why it was the 20th and didn't wait for the 25th.
Ah, okay.
But he really loved it here.
Yeah.
But I think he knew that's where he was going to end up in Trenton.
Back up there. Okay.
So we did have that. That again was at New World Landing. And it was only there. It was only here I think it was only here in Pensacola. He didn't do one on the other side of the diocese.
Great.
But when Bishop Gracita said he couldn't come, Monsignor Bill Kerr took his place.
Okay.
And he was kind of like the MC.
Got it. Okay.
So
Nice.
And he was Father Monsignor Kerr. I knew him as Father Kerr, but when he was Monsignor,
Right.
he was a terrific man. It was so sad that when he passed away, he had that something happened when he was on the altar.
Right.
And they took him. He lived, I think, a couple of weeks after that, and then he passed away.
Gotcha. And then the 25th. Sorry,
And now
one
the
more.
25th was Bishop Ricard, and we had Mass here, and let's see, where did we went to dinner again at New World Landing. Now, unfortunately, that restaurant
do
is
that
no
this year.
longer
Right,
here.
that's right.
And we really don't even have a big restaurant that we're going to be
so
able
we'll do
to.
it at the churches, at the cathedrals, and at
just-
the churches where we'll celebrate the Mass. We'll have a
Right.
little reception after each
and,
one.
and having a reception afterwards. The Ave Maria Hall is lovely, so I think
Good.
that'd be enough.
Good.
So,
That must have been quite a year, the 25th anniversary in the year 2000. It was also a Jubilee year,
Yes.
Pope
Yes.
John Paul had called that. And so that was that's neat.
Yeah.
And then there, you think, wow, we're celebrating our 25th. Boy, we were really young then.
Yeah.
And now at the 50th. And it must be a
Gosh.
blessing for you to be at all these.
I can't believe it.
I know. Yeah, just so I'm doing more of a dive into the history. I should know the history of the diocese, because people ask me all the time. And I can say, yes, we were, founded in 1975. But before that, it looks like, and it was nice to have, we had Archbishop Rhodey here, and he did one of these episodes. And boy, I could listen to him all day. He was so good. And he knows the history of this area very well. And so, so it looks like, we have 1674 that the Bishop of Santiago de Cuba came and visited here. So we really we were actually the first at the founding. We basically fell under the Diocese of Spain. And then we were Santiago in Cuba for centuries, a couple of centuries, a century and a half, it looks like, maybe 2, I'm not sure. And then it was transferred to New Orleans briefly, back to Havana, to Louisiana, and then to Mobile. In 1829, we were this part of the diocese, that is the 10 counties in the west, including where we are now in Pensacola, was part of the archdiocese, or the diocese, and then later the archdiocese of Mobile for about, 100 and, I don't know, my math isn't good, 150 years. And the rest of Florida was was transferred then from Cuba, Havana, to the Diocese of Savannah for a while, and then in 1850 and in 1870, the Diocese of St. Augustine was established to include all of Florida except for the 10 counties west of the Apalachicola River. And then in 1968, these 10 counties were added on to St. Augustine. And then it was 7 years later, 1975, that these 10 counties and 8 counties from St. Augustine were merged to form the Diocese of Pensacola-Tallahassee. I think that's right. It's great. I love that. Right. But I was just thinking, it's kind of a neat way to think about this. So going backwards, Pensacola-Tallahassee, we were St. Augustine and Mobile, Mobile and Savannah, New Orleans for a little bit, Havana, Cuba, Spain, and Spain counts the founding of that area to St. James the Apostle. And so Jesus. So it's really not a huge step between us and that, of course, 2,000 years. But that's just kind of a neat way to think about it. We were once the Diocese of St. James, basically, one of the apostles. And now we're established, young but a mighty diocese. I think the oldest diocese in the world is said to be in Malta, founded by St. Paul in the year 64 AD. I looked all this up. And we're not the youngest because one was just founded recently, I believe, in the Philippines. But we're among the younger ones, obviously, being 50 years old. Anyway, that's a long way to just kind of to introduce another question, and that is, so looking at the diocese over the last 50 years, is there anything that stands out as far as, you talked about the bishops, I appreciate that. Anything about different foundings or parishes that were opened or ministries or anything like that?
Well, ministries mainly. When I was in the youth office, you asked about traveling. We would have youth directors at all the different parishes, and we would have a meeting so that we could be cohesive, that everybody knows what was going on. And I would go to like St. Dominic's and have a meeting there, St. Mary's and have a meeting there, because Father Cherub was in another place and Father Dennis was in another place. Right. And they just left that to me to do those meetings. And the youth department at that time was just flourishing. The kids were coming from everywhere. And unfortunately today it's not quite like that, and it makes me sad, but I know it's because of
many
phones
things. You're right.
And
social media and
and COVID and all these things that has made the teenagers more introverted, and they don't want to go out. They don't feel like it's comfortable to go and be with a group of people in the church. And that's kind of sad that happens. I know there's still a lot of wonderful young high school kids, especially we have a lovely Catholic high, and they have a good program with retreats, and our own youth office here, Lisa does a good job with them doing the different programs that she has. She's kept up with CLI and youth conference. So it's there, but my heart is not, it's not filled the way it was when we were working with young people.
Yeah, there were large rallies and everything.
Oh,
and
yes,
big
they
gatherings.
were huge.
Yeah. And I think, I'm an optimist. Some would say Pollyanna, but that's okay. I think that's
like
good
that.
for a Christian. But I do believe that it's not going to turn around all at once, but we are seeing an increase now in our parishes. Again, our youth ministries, our young adult ministry, our campus ministries are growing and growing, especially at FSU and FAMU and TCC, and then on this side at UWF. More and more students are coming and wanting more programming, not programming sounds bad. They want more, I guess, catechesis. They want more adoration, praise and worship. So that's a very hopeful sign. I don't know if it'll turn around completely, but I have a feeling we're on the way up.
Well, that's
with
good.
a lot of things.
I'm glad to hear that.
Right, I hear you. So I like to say that I wasn't here. I arrived late in the history of the diocese. That is 8 years ago, 2017. But as they say in Texas, I got here as fast as I could. I didn't even know really, and I apologize, I didn't know that the diocese existed. When I was told, I know I've said this before, you will go to the Diocese of Pensacola-Tallahassee, I had to say, where is that? But now, of course, I feel it's the best diocese in the country, clearly. And I said, I've seen some changes, as far as growth. Lots of signs of hope here. I think one of the things that I love about this diocese is maybe because we're, young. And I think 50 years, boy, in church time, that's extreme. That's very young. Because we're young, because we are kind of small but mighty. We're not afraid to try new things, not just for the sake of shaking things up, but I mean new ministries like the Joseph House, in Tallahassee, or Trinity House in Trinity Village in Pensacola. I'm thinking of the Restored Order. I'm thinking of the Hopeful Mysteries to promulgate that, and just different initiatives. Thank you. Ooh,
the Martyrs.
I'm going to say something about the Martyrs.
That was that when I was sitting in that chair and I got the phone call from. Well, I don't know if I want to mention all that, but
right. Sure.
I remember her wanting to talk to Bishop Ricard, and he allowed it. I think he was the first one that said, "Yeah, let's look at this."
So we're talking about the Martyrs of La Florida, and I know we've done a couple of episodes on that as well. Maybe hopefully people know about that, but these are. We identified martyrs in this area as well as in other parts of Florida and the Carolinas and Alabama, and 47 martyrs with the lead martyr Antonio Enija and his companions. And we've identified them from the 16th to the 18th century. We've done a lot of research over the centuries, we can say. Isn't that amazing? They've kind of started to do the cause, but then stopped. It was started again in 1940 in earnest, but then stopped because of the war. It was started again. Bishop Gracida, I think, kind of just asked about it in the late 70s. And then, but as you said, it really got going under Bishop Ricard. And then Bishop Parks was the one to start the official, open the official investigation. And then I was privileged to be there when it was closed. And now it's in the hands of Rome.
And that's a lot of time between all of that. I mean, I got the first phone call early in Bishop Ricard's time, and the lady that called was, "Can we meet with the bishop?" And that's when I know that it started really in earnest. And then, of course, Bishop Ricard had to leave, so then Bishop Parks picked it up.
Great.
So.
And now we just wait. We've rested our case. Our diocese has said this. We believe that they should be recognized. We know they're martyrs. We believe they should be beatified so that the whole world will call upon them and their intercession and learn from their example. And so hopefully that will happen. That's a big deal for our diocese as well.
Sure.
One of my nieces, who's on social media a lot, she said, "Uncle Bill, I just keep reading about the diocese and you're doing all these things, issuing these letters and starting these ministries. And it's not about me. I think, like I said, just it's this diocese. There's a hunger here, and we're small, but we're mighty. And I love that.
For sure.
And I think one of the things that I love is when someone, so a lot of times, and you probably remember this from being in the office, someone will call and say, "We need this in the diocese." And then that's it. It's like, you need to do this. What I love is when people say, "We really need a ministry to, say, formerly incarcerated folks." And I have a group of people who want to do that. Could we do that, Bishop? Yes, absolutely. I'm happy to say yes to that.
Right.
And that's what's happened with these initiatives. People say, I think we really need this, and I have an idea on how to start it. So do it. And I'm sure you did that not only in that office, but also in youth ministry too.
Right, right.
I mean, a lot of times, I think maybe in larger dioceses, there's more, I don't know, administration or more hoops to go through. But we have the ability to do that here.
I know that when we started with the fingerprinting, and that was the beginning of that
for safe environment.
And Bishop Ricard was the first one to be fingerprinted of the priest, and they all came and done in the old school building, and then the staff came. I was the first of the staff to get fingerprinted.
Right. Yep.
It makes you realize what's going on in the world, and it's sad that you have to do this kind of thing when before. Like in youth ministry, if you wanted to take 10 kids to a camp or something, you just pile them in the car and take them.
Right, yeah.
Well, you can't do that now.
Right, yes.
And this is a good thing.
That is good.
It's a very good thing.
Absolutely. But I know it's a lot. But what you said, I think, is important, that Bishop Ricard really led the way.
Yes, he
and
did.
in fact, before even the rest of the other dioceses implemented safe environment programs, and we had to deal with all the horrific, all the revelations of abuse and things. I understand that Bishop Ricard was kind of a leader in that for the country. We were doing that even before it was mandated, before the Dallas Charter and all of that. And so I really appreciate him for that, and you all, and how we were doing it. So that's just another example of how this little diocese kind of had influence, I believe, over the rest of the church.
It did. It did.
And one thing, and I don't know, there's nothing, I don't know if you have any thoughts about this, but I was just thinking of this in anticipation of this podcast episode. What's been consistent, I think, is the number of Catholics in this area. When I got here, I was told we are 4.5% of the population that is Catholics in the Panhandle. And I look at my history, and it looks like back in the 70s or early 60s, it was 3.5 to, not even, it was 4% to 4.5. So that needle has been moved a little bit. On the day that I was announced here, if you remember, on my in my little press conference here, I said 5%. Why, it should be 10%. That's our goal. And so some of the priests are still saying, "Okay, we remember that, Bishop. What are we doing to move that needle?" Again, we're good neighbors. We love all of our neighbors. It's not that we're trying to compel anyone to convert or anything, but honestly, we want to evangelize. And so that's just something I think, as we look ahead, it's something we need to do more. I don't know if you've seen any efforts in that in your time here to evangelize.
Yes. We had he's passed away, but he was an evangelist.
We had someone who was here, right?
Yes,
right, a layperson.
A layperson, and there was a couple in Tallahassee that were on it, and they did wonderful. It was in the charismatic movement, and that's where he really got started, and he took it all the way. I mean, and then it was good to have that. I mean, sometimes we took a group of teenagers to a charismatic conference. It was different.
Right. Yep. I'm sure
but
it was.
They
It challenged
came back
them.
really charged up.
Yeah,
so
good.
that was what the whole purpose was, that they could do that.
Love it. Okay, so back to the diocese. I have two questions, and then here I am, like interviewing you, but that a challenge that I see, it may not be something you see or saw when you were here, is so we're a diocese, 50 some churches and schools and ministries, and yet there is a tendency, not just in the diocese, but I think all of us have this, to kind of focus on ourselves, like my family or my church, my parish, my school. One of the things I'm doing as bishop is, I see all of them. People say, "What's your favorite one?" And I say, the parish where I go to this Sunday, the place where I'm at the present. I mean, it really is true. But now I understand, because we always used to ask our parents, "Who's your favorite?" The 10 children. And they were very diplomatic. And so am I. But really, I think of it all as the diocese. And a goal of mine is to help us all, to remind everyone that we are a diocese. We're a local church together. Yes, of course, I understand your main concern is helping out your parish, helping that to grow, or your school. I don't know where this is leading to a question, but do you have any... Did you face that when you were working in youth ministry, say, was there that sense of... provincialism or something like that?
As a matter of fact, the young people would like to challenge another parish to the volleyball tournament or the kickball or the whatever, and they made friends. Good. And it was amazing how they were not going against one another. They were gathering together so that they can just play and pray. We'd have Mass at everything that we did. And there are couples now that are married that I saw in youth ministry and had Catholic weddings, and they've got children, and their children are having children.
All right, good.
I mean, it really never was a, I don't like what they do. Mm-hmm. They always were. I mean, it always joined everybody.
Sure,
I mean, it really, all these different events we had, the campouts and the conferences and the World Youth Day.
Sure, right.
Yes.
So to bring people together.
Right.
So maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need to bring back kickball tournaments. But I like that.
It's not too dangerous.
Anything we can do to kind of remind people, at least from my point of view, that what happens, I think... It's a good example is after a hurricane, and you've seen your share of those. And I'm just thinking, I got here the year before Michael devastated the middle part of our diocese there, especially in Panama City and in Mexico Beach and Port St. Joe. But the whole diocese came together, of course, collecting food and tarps and cleaning equipment and even going to St. Dominic to help to distribute that, I think. So we do come together, but just in regular times, I just kind of want to remind people.
Well, possibly with all our different masses that we're having across the diocese, that's probably going to bring people out and be happy that they're able to go to celebrate this 50th anniversary. I mean,
I like it.
I think that's pretty.
I like it.
Pretty good.
You should still be here in the office. Wonderful. Well, as we're kind of wrapping up, so we're celebrating our 50th. All right, we don't want to look ahead to the 100th. I don't know if we'll be here or not.
I won't.
Who knows? You never know. Oh, well, anyway, what will I be? I'll be 108. All right, I'll be 108 then. That's my goal. Okay, to make it for the 100th. But let's say 75th or, just looking ahead. Do you have any, I'm going to put you on the spot, any hopes for the diocese or for our church from what you have experienced, your positions?
I just think that our priest, the ones on the altar, if they continue to be like a lot of our new young priests that can preach with no notes, that they're preaching with their heart, and that makes people in the pew more happy and faith-filled than you can even imagine. And them reaching out to us and we to them I think that's the core, is
Great.
Having a good priest.
Absolutely.
And I think we're pretty lucky in that area.
We are.
So we
very
have some
blessed
dynamic priests.
Yep.
So
good. Oh, well, that's neat. I was thinking, see that's great. I was thinking structurally, what do we need to do? What ministries? And you went right to the heart of it. The church is, after all, people. It's us. Right. It's the priests and the people here. And that's a great reminder,
We've had some great priests, and some that have passed away that were, our own Monsignor Crawford.
Right.
He was director of vocations, and he had he would call these little gatherings. The men would come up, and he asked Hal and I and Linda Barrett and her husband to speak to them. He said, they need to know what the people in the pew thinks.
That's right. Absolutely.
And we would give our little talks and on the weekend or the day and have dinner with them. I don't know what they do now, but he was very instrumental in making sure those young men knew what the people in the pew were thinking and wanting.
Fantastic.
So
they do that at
Yeah.
the seminary now. They have lay
good.
people come in, families, and talk
Good.
about their needs
Good,
and talk about the
good.
vocation of marriage.
Right.
And our
That's what we
seminarians
did.
need to know about that and need to
So,
hear about that. So
good.
great. Well, thank you. Thank you for
you're
your time
welcome.
together. And thank you for this time together. But thank you for your commitment to this diocese. I mean, it's just, you are a wealth of knowledge, and I love that. And you are the memory of the place in some ways, which might be scary, but I'm glad you're not talking and telling all the secrets that you know and everything. No, but I appreciate it very much.
Well,
and
thank you.
So,
Thank you.
so we just pray that God will bless our diocese as we
Yes.
celebrate 50 years, and that the next 50, I don't know, the next however long God wants us to keep going until Jesus comes again, that they will also be filled with grace and joy and growth, especially, so that God may be glorified and the people around us may be lifted up.
Well, we are so appreciative of you. You are
Well, that's
like
about all the time we have, folks.
You
No,
are
thank
a ray of sunshine, and everybody
something.
loves it. So just keep it up, and
Thank
say
you.
no
Thank
when
you.
you have to say yes.
Say no when you have to say, oh, you mean if I get a call?
Right.
I know.
You get one of those phone calls.
I am very, very humbled and honored to be here, and I love it.
We love
So,
you.
Good. Wonderful. All right. Well, God bless you. And
Thank
thank you
you.
for being part of this podcast episode. May God bless you always.
Thank you for tuning in today to the Gaudium et Spes podcast. If you would like to know more about our podcast, please visit our website, gaudiumetspes.net, or go to ptdiocese.org and click the button that says podcast. If you listen to the audio version from an app such as Apple Podcast, Spotify, or iHeartRadio, be sure to rate, review, and comment. If you watched us on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe or leave us a comment there as well. Thank you for joining us.